Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Anupama, Special Secretary, Local Self-Government Department, Government of Kerala. I'm here to present about the extreme poverty eradication project which Kerala undertook over a span of last 4 years, which culminated in a recent declaration on 1st November, the 69th Foundation Day of Government of Kerala. So before I start off, I'll just say a few words about the project. As you know, Kerala has always had a pioneering presence in the social sector. But this project, it was a major learning experience and learning ground for us as well, because it could have many outcomes and it couldn't go in the way we intended. So there were many confusions, and then this kind of a whole of government approach and the micro level planning that was new to us also. But then this is our story, this is how we did it, and we are happy that we did it. So this was launched in 2021 when the present government took the first decision in its first cabinet to implement this project. So a little bit on the background, Kerala started the Ashraya project intending at rehabilitation of the destitutes way back in 2002, which was further improved in 2017 for a destitute-free Kerala. So we always had a background, we had objective criteria set for identification of the beneficiaries for poverty reduction in the state, but then this was converged, many of these efforts were converged and focused into extreme poverty eradication project in 2021. So this was a transformative whole of government approach, moving beyond traditional welfare schemes intended at targeted beneficiaries, and we moved towards a proactive service delivery at the doorsteps instead of each beneficiary approaching the government for a specific service. And our goal was to identify and liberate all those suffering from extreme poverty, all those who remained outside the support ambit of the government. So we always talk about extremely poor, poorest of the poor, very poor and all that. But for the purpose of this particular scheme, Kerala attempted to define the extremely poor in a way that they would be the most vulnerable group in the society, entirely incapable of acquiring fundamental survival requirements, and mainly focusing on areas like food, income, shelter, and health, and those whose existence remain critically vulnerable and challenging. And we had initial thoughts on why we should have a specific program to target extremely poor instead of a larger poverty alleviation program or the extension of existing poverty alleviation programs in the state. So while poverty generally depicts the absence of capabilities among certain population, extremely poor categories beyond that. So these often portray acute manifestations of deprivation, lacking the basic survival skills and basic entitlements also. So such kind of an extremely poor poverty eradication program needs very targeted interventions where higher level of involvement and planning will be required from each and every stakeholder, the primary stakeholder being the government. And a little bit about the process that we undertook from 2021 till today. So the process started with the identification of the beneficiaries based on the set criteria. I'll speak a little bit about the criteria in the next slide. And then thereafter, for each identified beneficiary, a micro plan was prepared. And based on the micro plan, the projects or the schemes were implemented, the services were delivered to the identified beneficiaries, and then the project had multiple levels of monitoring, tracking, progress tracking, etc. And this was implemented through the leadership of all the local bodies in the state, both urban and rural local bodies. And the project largely relied on the strength of decentralized government. The Kerala has always, decentralized governance that the Kerala has always been very proud of. And I'll start with the process of identification. So this was built as a model of trust by the state of Kerala. So it was centered around the focus group discussions which tried to narrow down the beneficiary list or pinpoint on the deprivations prevailing in the society, the aspects of destitution, etc. And this process was entirely led by the local self-government, all the urban local bodies and the rural local bodies alike. And these kind of deliberations and the discussions and the identifications happen mainly at the local body level and up to the ward level in each local body. And the local support network was also developed during the process, tapping into the deeper knowledge reservoirs of, Asha, Anganwadi workers, Kudumbashri neighborhood groups, ward members, local activists, etc. And extensive training processes were also imparted, and the resource persons were developed particularly for this project. And a little bit about the criteria. The criteria was based on distress factors identified for food, health, income, and shelter. So which are the deprivation criteria for food, health, income, and shelter were defined by us, and under each category there will be extreme distress factors and distress factors. And these factors were given certain weightage, and that's how we arrived at a beneficiary list. And again, this went through multiple processes, like after drawing out an initial beneficiary list from the existing vulnerability list, we held multiple focus group discussions, which resulted in a preliminary list of 1.18 lakh families. And then the ward committees went through the list, had further discussions, and then shortlisted 87,158 families. And the data was collected for all these families. Then 20% of verification, super check through statistical methods were conducted. And then we had a final list of 64,006 extreme poor families, 1,03,099 members. And this was one of the largest participatory identification processes undertaken in the state. Altogether, 13.74 lakh representatives from the local bodies, the volunteers, the Kudumbashri members, everybody participated in the processes. 57,947 focus group discussions were conducted, and a 100-member strong state master team continued to monitor the entire process, train the stakeholders, and we had 50,000 enumeration teams and 1,100 super check teams. And next process after the identification was the microplan preparation process, for where we shifted from one scheme, one beneficiary approach to a microplan for each identified family. So under each microplan that was prepared, we had short-term, medium-term, and long-term components, like immediately delivering the food would be a short-term component that we identified, but then for a landless beneficiary, identifying a land in a locality that is suitable for that person, giving the land, building a house, that would be a long-term component. And the process was coordinated by the local self-government institutions, integrating the services from the Kudumbashri, Life Mission, Revenue, Health, Social Justice, Education, Transport, and many other departments. And the success was that out of the identified families, after removing the untraceable, the deceased, and all that, 59,283 families moved out of extreme poverty. A little bit about the numbers. First, we focused on the hunger and the health supports to remove sicknesses, palliative care, etc. And 20,648 families were given food support. Healthcare was given to 85,721 persons. And then palliative services, 5,777. And something like organ transplant. Why I had mentioned this is like very specific interventions were also adopted as a part of this process. And then another pillar was income and securing necessary documents for the beneficiaries, and the livelihood achieved 4,394 families had a stable livelihood option after this project, and mainly Kudumbashri entrepreneurship support was used for this, and essential documents like Aadhaar, ration card, voter ID card, everything was secured for these families during the process. And then the long last mile was ensuring safe and secure shelter. As you know, Kerala is a landscape state. So this, we had a lot of difficulty in identifying the land, setting up get the right documents for the land, setting up the houses. So this was the last process that we had to undertake in last few months. Financial assistance for the new house construction was given to 4,677 families. 2,700 families were given land. Existing houses were renovated. And during the process of house construction, identification of the land, people were moved into shelter homes and rented houses fully funded by the state. And then the process was not just about the implementation, but we ensured that post-implementation and throughout the implementation, necessary field level check and super check of the services delivered were also conducted. Over the last 2 months, we ensured that 100% field level check of each beneficiary was conducted, 10% district level check, 1% state level check was conducted by the department itself. And in addition to that, the Social Audit Society was engaged for the social audit of all the services delivered, and the condition of beneficiaries were also assessed during the process. And after the process of social audit and super check, we went through it once again, where we went back to correction processes. For example, income generation activity was implemented for one family, but then that was not stabilizing and the family was again moving back to poverty. So we took this as a correction mechanism, like the result of social audit was taken as an opportunity to correct, and that's how we implemented the last lap of it. And salient features that helped us accelerate the outcomes of this program. This was identified as a top priority project of the state. So the frequent reviews, the chief minister level reviews at the state, the district collector level reviews at the district level, and the local body level routine reviews. So there was a structured process of monitoring and review. And this ensured coordination of all the departments, because at the local level, the coordination was by the local bodies, and at the state level, the coordination was by the local self-government department. But we needed to ensure the support of all the departments, like to deliver the healthcare services, deliver the support to the children who are in need of care and protection, women and child departments. So many departments had to come together and all that. So those kind of monitoring mechanisms, convergence mechanisms were set up. And then we modified the local self-government plan guidelines to ensure that quick services are delivered to these beneficiaries. And we converged the existing scheme, but that was not sufficient. We had to modify the guidelines of the existing schemes to ensure that services are delivered fast. And then additional budgetary support was given, but not entirely by the state. This was given as an LSGI gap fund. For example, it is a local body which doesn't have a huge budget, then there is a gap fund that will be provided by the state depending on the number of beneficiary families in that. And we developed an MIS system and dedicated monitoring cell where each beneficiary was identified through a EPEP ID, and through that ID there was regular monitoring of each component under the micro plan identified. And we are not stopping there. We need to work a little more to sustain the success. So right now, the message that has been delivered is that the Kerala has always embraced a system of inclusive development, and this has also been portrayed as an epitome of the same, and we will strive to continue that. And if we talk about the pillars of success, the main driving force was a collective action by the local self-government department, local self-government institution, the strong decentralized network, and the community participation in the state of Kerala helped us to ensure a good identification, micro-plan preparation, and the implementation of the services. But it's not stopping there. It tried its best to break the silos of the departments where all the the service delivery missions, departments came together along with the volunteers and the public for the delivery of various services. And we have also announced a next step, a sequel of this program, Extreme Poverty Eradication Process 2.0. This is to provide mentorship and periodic support to sustain the stability of those who have already moved out of poverty, and to ensure that there will be a permanent safety net to ensure that more people are not falling into that trap again. So we are now working on a sequel for this program as well. So thank you for this opportunity. Thank you so much.